Hi, I'm Kim and this is my January wrap up. So I'm gonna trial doing these because I'm not posting about everything that I'm reading, even though for the most part everything that I read this month was for a video. So I thought I would use these to talk about what I've read that you haven't seen and talk about my reading stats, and then also, I don't know, this is a trial run for me to see how I want these to work, because I kind of want them to be as short as possible, because I think short and sweet will be better. I don't know. Anyway, January I read 14 books, which is about on par with what I read last year. My average rating was 3.8. I had a pretty good reading month, and that happened last year as well. January and February were really strong for me last year. I had a lot of 4 stars, and I had pretty much the same again this January. I had quite a few 4 stars. I have a little graphic here of all the books that I've read, and I'll run through those in a moment. I read 4 physical books and 10 ebooks, and I had 1 DNF. So overall, a pretty good reading month. 8 of the 14 books I read were 4 stars and above. Everything else was a 3.5 or a 3 star, so no 2 stars or 1 stars this month. So I just wanted to quickly run through and talk about the books that I read that I didn't read for videos. The first one is Annie Bot by Sierra Greer. This follows Annie, who is a robot and who is the girlfriend of this man. Her type of robot is meant to be they're meant to be girlfriends, and so her job is to make sure that he is happy and to help out around the house, except because of the type of robot she is, she doesn't have the skills necessarily in a certain area. For example, cleaning up, she's not as skilled at cleaning up because her focus is being a girlfriend, and so there is a lot of there's tension between her and the man who bought her. I forget his name, in my defense, it's been a month. So the guy that bought her, because she is treated as if she's a human, and although there is rooms to improve and to alter who she is as a robot, obviously that brings up the kind of question of agency and why not have an actual girlfriend when you have a robot, and what kind of person that makes you. And the fact that he had kept this a secret from his family and friends for about 4 years, and they didn't know at all that he had a robot that he has as his girlfriend. So it kind of lets you into the type of person that he is anyway. So the story follows Annie as she begins to process a little bit more about what it means to be her, and starts to maybe decide that actually this isn't the life that she wants to lead. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was a fun read. It's pretty short, so it was quite easy to get through. I almost feel like it could have been a little bit higher if it was a bit longer, because there is some stuff about Annie's development with the autonomy that I think would have been nice to have expanded on a bit more, but otherwise it was a fine read. My second book of the year was Asunder by Kirsten Hall. This follows Caris. She is a death speaker, which essentially means that she can talk to the dead and find out about their last moments of life, and she is asked to go along to find out why these smugglers have died and try and understand what had happened, and it ends up spiraling into a whole other situation that she wasn't anticipating, where she connects with a man called Forain, who is gravely injured, and she decides kind of willingly to help him, and they essentially are bound together, and so the story follows the two of them as they go through to try and return him to his family and get this bonding unravelled, because it seems like it's going to have poor consequences for the both of them. I gave this 4.5 stars. It was so close to being a 5, I think, but there's like just a little bit that's holding me back as to why it wasn't. First of all, the world building is really interesting. You were dropped kind of straight in it, which is a negative for some people, but I didn't mind. I think the only thing about the world building I wasn't as keen on is that there are some areas that felt like it could be a little bit more fleshed out. So for example, Caris's deaf speaker ability is given to her through a contract that she has with this eldritch being essentially, and it's touched on at times throughout the story about how these contracts come to an end essentially, and her patron can call on her at any point, and essentially that's the end of her life. But I don't think that it was woven in enough. I think it would have been nice to have that a little bit more, because it becomes more relevant as the story goes on, and I think it would have been nice to have that a little bit more earlier on in the story, as we get a bit more of an understanding about Caris herself and just the world. The second thing that holds me back from giving it 5 stars is the ending, because it's an ending. It is, I can't say anything because I'll spoil it. I really did like the book. The ending is slightly unsatisfying, and I think that it can be a bit off-putting for some people the way it ended. It definitely left me feeling a bit reeling, as though, you know, I don't think there's going to be a sequel. There's no information like that I could find so far. So for it to end where it did feel quite unsatisfying. But I think the rest of the story was really good. So I think it's a 4.5. But it was a good read, and I do recommend it. I think it was really interesting. If you're interested in high fantasy, kind of questing, travelling, and a soul bond essentially. And then finally, the last book that I read, not for a video, was Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. This is making its round at the moment, but it's a lit RPG book where we follow Carl and his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut, and they get pulled alongside the rest of the world into this whole other realm, below the earth essentially, by this corporation, alien corporation, who is put them into a reality TV show where they have to succeed in this dungeon crawl or die basically. And it follows the two of them as they move through the levels of the floors and start to meet people and understand what exactly is going on in the world. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked it. It's tongue-in-cheek, it's humorous, and it's a little bit crass, but it was quite an easy and entertaining read, and I think it's one of those ones that I'm looking forward to dipping in and out of as the year goes on. I think sometimes when you're in a bit of a reading slump, you just need to pick up something that you know is going to be lighter and easier to get through, and something like Dungeon Crawler Carl or Discworld or anything by John Scalzi I think works for me in that sense. So I know that, well, I already started the sequel, but I know that it'll be easy for me when I'm feeling like I'm in a bit of a slump, that I can just pick up one of these books or one of the other books that I just mentioned and just dip right back in and just have a fun time essentially. I do recommend it. It does have quite a bit of action and it is essentially like a D&D game, which if you're a fan of D&D, I think you will enjoy. So those are the 3 books I read that weren't featured in videos. I feel like that is going to be the end of the wrap up. I don't know what else I want to include in these yet. I was thinking about maybe doing a tier chart of the books I've read, or I don't know, I haven't decided. So this is a trial run, and then I think I will see as the months go on what else I want to include. Like when it comes round to March, whether to include like a quarterly wrap up with the sort of stats that I have so far. I think that maybe would be a good idea. I don't know. If there's anything that you're interested in seeing in wrap ups, let me know, and I'll see you in my next video.